Good evening, Sam. Well, Watford are closing in on a return to the Premier League, but they have to really prove their credentials in the final weeks of the season with so many games coming up against their rivals at the top of the table. But due to that splendid recent run, they're in the position of not having to win those games, whilst their opponents will. And that starts tonight against Reading. The Royals have spent 1 week outside the top 6 all season, but are now having to grind their way through towards the playoffs, with Bournemouth very much on their tails. A reminder of the two sides once again, the same Watford side which drew 1-1 at Middlesbrough on Monday, bringing to an end a 6-match unbeaten run. Bachmann in goal, Firmino, Troost, Serialta and Messina the back four, Chalobah, Hughes and Zinkernagel across the middle, with Sarr and Seymour supporting João Pedro. The Watford bench: Ben Foster, Jeremy Ngakia, Craig Cathcart, Dan Gosling, Ashraf Lazar, Andre Gray, Isaac Success, Carlos Sanchez and Joseph Hungbo. For Reading, as their side just emerged from the tunnel beneath us here in the Sir Elton John stand at Vicarage Road. One change for them. They beat Derby 3-1 on Monday to end a recent winless streak. It comes in the left-back area. Omar Richards is dropped to the bench. He came off injured during that game. Lewis Gibson replaces him. It is Raphael in goal, Yiadom, Holmes, Moore and Gibson the back four. Rinomota and Laurent, their deeper players in midfield, with Meite, Elise and Ajaria behind Puskás. Their bench: Luke Southwood the goalkeeper, Thomas Estevez, Omar Richards, Sam Bulldog, Lucas João, 22 goals but still on the sidelines, Sonia Luco, Alpha Semedo, Dayan Tatek and Yeriel Dorset. Plenty of youngsters in their team, and Sam Parkin, plenty of youngsters in the Reading starting lineup. They've looked at their academy this season. Veljko Paunovic is a coach who is very comfortable dealing with young players, and he's really got the best out of many of them.
Definitely, yeah. There've been some shining lights in the Reading squad. Have come from some of their younger players. I think Elise has obviously caught the imagination of a lot of people that follow the Championship. Real guile, just behind the striker. Lovely range of passing and capable of getting goals as well. But I think the two defenders, Holmes and McIntyre, been right up there as well, Nige. Some superb performances, and as I just alluded to, it's going to be a really big end to the season for Holmes in particular.
And of course, a week ago we all saw Lucas João's miss the open goal at Barnsley, which would have given them 2 more crucial points against one of their rivals. Surely he's not been left out as a result of that.
No, I think it was probably coming. I think his performances in the weeks prior to the Barnsley fixture left a little bit to be desired when you consider the form that he started the season in, where he's probably on a par with Pukki for the first 3 or 4 months of the season. I thought he was unplayable at times. So I think just the nature of his performances probably with that miss just led to the manager thinking it was time for a change, and Puskás certainly proved an able deputy at the weekend. I think deservedly gets another start tonight. It looks like the season's going to be extended. He's going to need both players. He's going to need João. He's going to need a confident João, but he's going to need a fit and a revitalised João as well.
And it's Reading, the team from the Royal County of Berkshire, who will get this game underway in their blue and white hoops, playing from right to left. And this, an absolutely key game for them in the playoff chase in the Championship. 1 point ahead of Bournemouth at the start of play. Watford, of course, do have room for manoeuvre in second place in the table, but a win here and they would be 12 points clear of the field, which would be a huge advantage with the games beginning to run out. James Lillington, our referee, a blast on the whistle from him. And both sets of players and officials take the knee right across Vicarage Road. And a very important football weekend is now underway across the TalkSport network here on the home of the EFL, TalkSport 2. Watford against Reading in the Championship. And Sam Parkin, if Watford win this game, I think it's very difficult to see anybody stopping them.
Yeah, I think those drop points from Brentford almost sealed their fate as well on Tuesday. Can't see them surrendering enough points really to let Brentford, Swansea back into the mix, especially the form that those two in particular have been in recently. The momentum is definitely with the front two, and maybe some of those those teams just circling around the playoff dotted line. So yeah, can't see it. They've been very good, I would say, in terms of the points that they've taken without thrilling. Too many people, I would say, for large portions of the season, but the last couple of months you cannot argue with the form that they produced under the new manager.
Watford have a free kick on this near side, and eventually it's played long downfield, long and high up towards the edge of the Reading penalty area by Troost, but in the end it's a first touch for Raphael, wearing all orange, defending the Reading goal away to our right hand side. The top of the table at the start of play: Norwich on 87 points, Watford on 79, Brentford on 70, Swansea 69, Barnsley 68, Reading 66, and then outside the playoffs the only realistic challenger at the moment are Bournemouth, who have a game in hand as well, on 65 points. They have a home game with Coventry tomorrow, and of course we can't assume anything in the Championship, but should they win that game, then Reading need a victory here to make sure they stay in the top six, as Watford, who've scored so many early goals in recent weeks, look for another one here. Zinkernagel's ball forward though is beyond João Pedro, and it's gathered by Raphael once again. And you just get the feeling though that Reading they're just lacking that fluency now, aren't they, that they had earlier in the season?
Yeah, quite possibly. Obviously, a few hiccups in recent games. The result, I think, on Monday, everything kind of went for Veljko Paunovic on Monday in terms of the selection. Puskas getting the goal, João coming on and reinvigorating his confidence potentially. It was a good performance. It was comfortable, but Derby didn't really come out of their shape until late in the game when it became quite open. But what I like about Reading consistently this year
is Sarr with a chase into the penalty area down the right-hand side. He was found by Firmino, and it was a good claim by Raphael on the edge of the box.
Yeah, good opportunity there. Just a little bit overcooked from Firmino. I was just saying the match winners that Reading have got in their ranks, similarly to Bournemouth actually, Nigel. They've always had the quality players at the top end of the pitch to get them out of the mire. They've been in trouble, and the collective unit of Watford, yes, is probably stronger, but those two teams that we've mentioned, an abundance of attacking threats. I think that's what makes Reading such a dangerous opponent. If they can get it right defensively, they're always liable to hurt you.
3 minutes played, 0-0 here at Vicarage Road. Darkness has just about descended, some pinky grey clouds around where the sun was, away to our right hand side, high in the sky, as Reading have a throw-in on the far side. Yedon though was quickly closed down by Zinkernagel, but Reading have a throw-in once again, thrown long downfield by Yedon down the Reading right, but they lose possession. Here is Chalobah back in field towards William Troost-Ekong, who scored the last goal for the opposition here, and that was back in mid-February when Watford beat Derby by 2-1. It's been a run of 4 clean sheets since then, as Reading have a free kick now midway inside the Watford half, and they've made a decent start, but you just get that feeling they're vulnerable when Watford go long and look for the attacking players they have.
Yeah, I'd be really interested to see how Reading try to counteract this right-hand side of Watford. Ajari has got a big job to track the full-back from Inia, but that said, the two holding midfield players very intelligent, been right at the top of their games this season, so I'm sure with a bit of organisation, one of those will probably just filter over to this left-hand side and make sure they're not outnumbered.
Free kick played long downfield by Laurent, and one bounce into the arms of Daniel Bachmann, who is continuing to keep Ben Foster out to the side. His long ball forward finds Sarr. He picks out João Pedro, who drives a shot in from the right-hand side of the penalty area, across the face of goal and just wide. And there is the threat from Watford in a nutshell.
Yeah, if that's the other way round, and that's Pedro feeding Sarr, we're probably talking about a different outcome there, because Pedro doesn't have that scintillating pace, and he recognises that, and he takes the strike on early from quite a difficult angle, and never really going to test Raphael there as it skipped beyond the far post. Great goalkeeping, by the way. His first involvement back when released it early straight into Sarr, who took a lovely touch and supplied the Brazilian.
Watford looking for 5 successive clean sheets at home for the first time since 2014. The last opposition player to score here was Albert Adoma for Queen's Park Rangers back on the 1st of February. That was the previous home defeat here for Watford as well. But they've just found that blend of being very secure at the back and also having that threat in attack. The best defence in the Championship, 27 goals conceded, and they've also enjoyed 19 clean sheets overall, and crucially in the run-in, 8 clean sheets in their last 10 games at home. Chalobah brings the ball down on his chest, challenged by Gibson just in front of us here, as we look out from the back of the Sir Elton John stand at Vicarage Road, one of the best viewing grounds in the country, as Bachmann plays the ball wide out to the far side, headed in field by Messina, and now Seri Alta, who has been a real find under Cisco Munoz, made only 2 appearances from the bench before the Spaniard arrived, but he's been a regular starter for Watford at the heart of their defence since. It breaks down for the Hornets, but it's quickly clipped forward by Trustekong, challenged by Puskás, and now Zinkernagel bowls over Rinomhota, and it will be a free kick for Watford just inside their own half. 6.5 minutes played, 0-0. Here's Sam Parkin.
They started well, Reading, haven't they? Really comfortable on the ball. Gibson's shown a couple of really nice touches there, just pushing it in field. Rinomhota showing great awareness as well, and just buying the free kick off Zinkernagel. But yeah, that threat's always there, Nigel. They switch the play very competently, Watford, normally from left to right to try and free up Sarr, and that's going to be something to keep an eye on. The centre-halves look very composed and look like they're not in any urgency to go anywhere. All of a sudden, one of them will just get out of their feet and try and play that big switch.
And of course, Watford are missing a couple of very experienced players. Tom Cleverley and Troy Deeney are just sat down to our left-hand side, watching on. Troy Deeney in a very loud bomber jacket, eating an apple, as Reading look to build on the far side with Ajaria. Back in field to Elise, who is a prodigiously talented teenage player, a real find for Reading this season. A long ball down the line again, looking for the run of Elise, but headed away by Messina. And now Chalobah plays the ball in field, eventually wide to this near side, and Firmino. And Watford will be very happy to have the ball in these sort of areas. They're quite happy to invite the press, and then they try and bypass it and use the pace they have up top, as Seri Alta goes into the feet of João Pedro just inside the Reading half. He's quickly challenged though by Laurent, and Will Hughes, with that familiar shock of blonde hair, now playing as a holding midfielder for Watford, but the decision to put him there also coincided with the injury to Troy Deeney, and Watford have been transformed since then with João Pedro playing down the middle and Hughes being able to dictate play from deeper positions.
Yeah, funny how it works out sometimes, isn't it? There was that 2 or 3 game period where he was shunted wide on the left-hand side, and the whole balance seemed to be disturbed by that, I suppose. The change to the 3 up front, I think that was something that looked pretty obvious from very early on, but Vladimir Ivic probably didn't have the right personnel, I would say. He certainly didn't have a left back during that period, hence why he went with a back 3. So there was circumstances outside of the performances, I would say, which ultimately saw him lose his job. So didn't have the best set of cards maybe, but you cannot argue what the new manager has done. I mean, more goals, more points, and certainly seems to be a happier demeanour. The players seem to enjoy playing for him, which certainly didn't seem to be the case under the previous regime, which was another reason I would suspect.
9 minutes played, 0-0. And there was some talk that Cisco Munoz was under pressure.
Yeah.
I remember a dreadful goalless draw that Watford were involved in at Coventry at St Andrews in early February. It's been given away by Seri Alta straight to Ajari, who's having a shirt pulled there by Kiko Firmino. Good refereeing from James Liddington, who tried to play the advantage. None was forthcoming, and it's a free kick to Reading just inside the Watford half. There was this terrible game at Coventry that drew 0-0, had no threat at all. Changed things around since then. 10 wins, 1 draw and 1 defeat.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, a couple of dodgy games. I think QPR was probably around that as well, when
it was that same week.
A bit of speculation about his future, which would have been absolutely incredible. But a couple of tactical little tweaks, certainly going to the front 3, getting Sarr and Sainer in their natural positions has worked wonders.
Elise clips the free kick high to the far post, nodded back across the penalty area, and there was an audacious volley attempted by the captain Liam Moore, but it's cleared away as far as Rinomhota. High diagonal ball towards the far post. Moore was lurking, was headed across his own penalty area by Firmino and guided back to Bachmann by Will Hughes. 10 minutes played, 0-0 here at Vicarage Road in the Championship on TalkSport 2 tomorrow. On game day, Millwall against Swansea is at 12:30 live from the Den, followed by Bournemouth against Coventry at 3 o'clock. Over on TalkSport, Rashmin Chowdhury and the team will be at the Etihad from 11 o'clock. Manchester City against Leeds is at 12:30. I was at the corresponding game at Ellen Road, which was an absolute cracker back in October. And then Palace against Chelsea comes up at 5:30. In between those two games, game day live with Adrian Durham. All the goals as they go in, and it comes live from Pride Park, where Norwich could be promoted tomorrow. Sarr now inside the penalty area, curls a shot in, which took a deflection, and Watford score yet another early goal. And it's Ismaila Sarr showing his quality once again, creating something out of nothing, and Watford's charge towards the Premier League gathers even more momentum.
It's quite a brilliant goal. I didn't think he had that in his locker, to be honest, Nigel, when he came infield on his weakest side to produce the technique, the technical ability, the guile on his weaker side is quite something else. And it comes actually from Ajaria just switching off, just fractionally on the right-hand side. He didn't go with the run of Feminea. Chalobah found the fullback, then it was shifted infield to Sarr. And then you just have to sit back and admire it, really. Chops infield near Moore and finds the far corner beautifully.
Well, they score so many goals in the opening 15 minutes of games, Watford. And there's another one, and they lead Reading here by a 1-0.
I'm keeping an eye on this Reading left-hand side, Nigel, and seeing how tuned in are they, how frustrated are Watford going to get, or how regimented they're going to be. And it was just a split second, but Ajari just switched off. Feminea got about 5 yards in advanced position of him, and then Chalobah really great awareness, punched it into the fullback, and that was enough. Just that little split second where Ajaria lost the fullback, and that ends up in the back of the Reading net.
15th goal they've scored in the opening 15 minutes of games, which just shows that the tempo they set right from the start.
Yeah, and for us neutrals, you probably wanted it to go the other way, if we're being fair, Nigel, because Watford, if it's going to be in keeping with the rest of the season, difficult nut to crack when they get their nose in front.
Now Sarr again with a break into the penalty area, fires in the shot. Oh, what a goal from Ismaila Sarr, wide on the right-hand side, and he larruped it right-footed, high over the head of Raphael, and into the top corner. That is an outstanding finish from Ismaila Sarr. 2 goals in 2 minutes for him, and Watford lead 2-0.
Well, it's the only place that can beat the goalkeeper. It's an absolute rocket. I don't think he probably takes it on if he hasn't got the first one. It's a giveaway from Reading. It's Gibson who comes infield. He's dispossessed by Chalobah, who started the game wonderfully well. And Sarr fed by Zinchenko. Liam Moore's got to get across there, Nigel, hasn't he? He's got to stop the shot. Just allows the strike to be forthcoming, but then again, don't take anything away from the wide player. It's an absolutely amazing strike. It's gone like a rocket, like an arrow, into the top left-hand corner. Wonderful goal.
And it didn't deviate an inch on its way from his boot into the top corner from such a tight angle as well. Raphael stands there, hands on hips, but he had no chance at all. And Watford may have taken this game away from Reading already. 2 goals in 2 minutes from Ismaila Sarr, his 12th of the season. And that's a goal which will be talked about for a long, long time. Xisco Munoz already clapping his hands, wanting more. Veljko Paunovic standing there, hands in pockets. But I'm sure he'll be looking at the defending leading up to both goals, really. And Lewis Gibson has given Sarr plenty of room. Of course, he gave the ball away to Zinchenko in the build-up to that goal, and now he's 15 yards in field beyond Ismaila Sarr, and that's a dangerous thing to do because already he's on a hat-trick in this game. Played back by Yedom to Raphael, who just about clears downfield under pressure from João Pedro, and Gibson has been fouled this time, and it will be a free kick for Reading. Just a point clear of Bournemouth, and this start for Watford is very good news for them. But no side has managed to score 3 times against Watford in the Championship this season. Reading can't do it, and it's a tall order from here, then they could be out of the top 6 for the second time this season by 5 o'clock tomorrow night. But they have a free kick on the halfway line, which Holmes will take in towards Elise. And now Lawrence and Ajaria on the halfway line. And Reading won't change the way they play. They will continue to try and probe, and Ajaria rides the challenge of Hughes, and he was then hauled down by Zinkernagel, and it's the first yellow card of the evening for the Watford midfielder.
Yeah, been guilty of a few cynical ones, haven't they? Just when Reading players have broken goal side their Watford counterparts, 2 or 3 in quick succession, and Zinkernagel rightly into the referee's book there, and just shows you the Premier League quality, Nigel, doesn't it? There's not too many out there you would say would walk into the majority of Premier League sides. I think Sarr is definitely one there, and when you get away with that in the Championship, 2 slight errors punished.
Gibson nods it down inside the penalty area. The initial shot is blocked, and then Holmes goes down. Half-hearted appeals for a penalty. Sarr now gathers on the left corner of his own area. It ricochets back towards Firmino. His long ball downfield, headed in field by Gibson. And now João Pedro plays it back towards Firmino again, but it's quickly cut out by Laurent before Hughes snaps into the challenge, long and high into the Reading half, and Elise sees a ball dropping over his shoulder, brings it down superbly and guides it back towards Raphael.
Yeah, tough enough skill when you're running towards the opposition's goal over his shoulder. Knows that has to be immaculate with people closing him down.
Now a break into the penalty area for Meite. He tries his luck from a similar sort of position from where Ismaila Sarr scored, but this time he blazes the ball high into the rookery end.
Yeah, didn't really have the angle, didn't really have the support. It was something of nothing really in the end, just lofted towards the far post and misses the target by a considerable distance, and that's probably the one criticism. Nearly 20 minutes in, Reading haven't had anything really on the Watford goal. Again, in keeping with recent games here at Vicarage Road, but Watford in control, even without the 2-goal start that they've been given. They've dictated the ball.
17 minutes played. Watford 2, Reading 0. 2 superb goals from Ismaila Sarr. Zinkernagel now has space down the left-hand side. He can break into the penalty area. 3 wait for the cross. Zinkernagel goes on his outside and lays it back to Hughes. And it's an excellent challenge from Elise right on the edge of the area as Hughes was about to stroke a shot towards goal. Now Puskás, we barely said his name so far, works it wide to the far side, and Yeardom's gone well to trick his way beyond Zinkernagel. Early cross into the area, looking for Meite, headed up in the air by Serialta, and the clearance is completed by Troost-Ekong. And now Watford have the opportunity to break once again as it's played inside Gibson, looking for Sarr from Seymour. But this time it breaks down for Watford, and Reading have possession midway inside their own half.
Elise should have just taken Seymour out there, I think. Once he evades him, he took the pass on too early. Should have taken a couple more strides towards the Reading goal and then slipped in Sarr, or waited for Sarr to initiate a little bit of movement. Gibson had about 5 yards on the winger.
19 minutes played, 2-0 to Watford, but Reading coming forward now. Puskás on the edge of the area, tries to thread it through towards Meite. Now he's done well to win the ball back from Hughes, and he digs the ball out from underneath his feet, clips it wide to the far side, the right, and Yeardom. Now Holmes takes over on the halfway line. Here is Lawrence. Reading have had much more of the possession so far with 19 minutes played, but they're 2 goals down, which is often the way of it against Watford these days. And in the end, Firmino just plays it long downfield, almost clips it high into the Reading technical area, and it will be a throw-in for the Royals on this near side. Laurent now with a high ball down the centre once again, looking for Meite. It's cleared as far as Elise. Puskás finds Rinomota. Poor ball forward from him though. It's quickly cut out by Firmino, and then João Pedro goes down, looking for a free kick on the halfway line. Nothing is given, and Gibson plays it wide towards the former Liverpool youngster Ajaria once again. Short sleeves and gloves for him on what is a fairly mild evening. Now Elise, right towards Ajaria down the left-hand side, infield towards Elise, high cross towards the far post, and it's headed behind by Messina for a Reading corner.
Lovely play, those two, Elise and Ajaria on the left-hand side. Really nice position that Elise finds himself in. Nothing wrong with the ball. Meite a little bit on his heels. Good defending from Messina, heading it behind. Just wanted to see the wide player coming in field there and really getting across his marker.
Reading have scored 15 goals from set pieces so far this season, and they need one here. At the Rookery end, it will be a corner which Elise will take. An in-swinger, high into the 6-yard box. Bachmann comes through the crowd to clear. Now Yeardon looks for the space to shoot. It's blocked on the edge of the penalty area. Rinomota stretches the neck muscles to head it wide to the far side. And Elise again, who will try and take on João Pedro on the edge of the penalty area. Delivers the cross in. More challenging for the header, but Watford again just managed to get bodies in the way. And it's played forward by Chalabar, and then Yeardon catches João Pedro, who goes down extravagantly, clutching his ankle on the far side, but I think he is hurt, and it will be a free kick to Watford.
It's a really good second ball fed in there by Elise, but as you said, Nigel, they're just so willing to go and attack everything, so dominating. Those two centre-halves look like Liam Moore just stolen the march actually on his marker, but Surialta appeared from absolute nowhere and made real strong contact, just diverting it away from any danger, and kind of sums up how they've been over the last couple of months and never really feel that they're in too much danger, especially from set pieces.
Puskás working hard to win the ball back again for Reading. A high ball into the penalty area from him, was looking for a Jaria, but it's chested back by Troost-Ekong towards Bachmann. Quick release from him, and now Firmino comes forward just in front of us, finding Ismail Assar again on this near side, the Watford right. Now a Jaria. Firmino's offside, so he just checks his run, then tries to flick it infield to find Sarr, and it will be a throw in to Reading on this near side. 22 minutes played on TalkSport 2, the home of the EFL, and it's Watford 2, Reading 0. Watford are heading 12 points clear of the playoff places, and at the moment it is difficult to see anybody stopping them. This is the start of a run of 4 games against the current top 6 between now and the end of the season, but they're so far ahead. As long as they pick up draws, they'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough running, isn't it? Especially when you put Luton, the Derby into the mix, and obviously Millwall, who are going well. But by the time that game comes about, the season could be done and dusted for the Lions. So, yeah, I can't see them dropping enough points. That said, there are going to be some really competitive games ahead, but they are in fine fettle, despite a couple of recent kind of average performances from their standards. Been right at it this evening so far.
Now Zinkernagel, midway inside the Reading half, he's been fouled by Lawrence, and it will be a free kick to Watford, about 35 yards out in a central area. And they've had 2 shots so far, Watford, and they've both gone in from Ismail Assar. And they have another opportunity here. Zinkernagel and Hughes are over the free kick, and Reading cannot afford to concede another goal. I mean, 2-0 looks a fairly impossible scoreline for them, considering Watford's recent form. They've conceded only 12 goals in their 20 games under Xisco Munoz, and the goals have been flowing for them recently. 28 goals in just over 12 games after 10 in the previous 11, when things were fairly dour under Vladimir Ivic. Zinkernagel looks like he'll take this free kick on, and he curls it right footed, gets right underneath it into the Vicarage Road stand, into those empty red seats, and it's a goal kick with 24 minutes played and Watford leading 2-0.
Yeah, way off the target, but even though they've only had the 2 shots, Nigel, every time the ball gets turned over they look to be in business, don't they? There was an opportunity for Sema to play Sarr in down this right hand side a few moments ago. Again, 3v2. I thought Lauren was slow to come over from his central midfield berth just to make up that extra number, and they continue to get joy on the right hand side. Femini is so willing to get forward. Lovely triangle. Chalabar on the ball now, who started the game ever so well as well.
Now it's been given away by Sarr, straight to Elise. And Ajaria down the left-hand side for Reading, looking to use his pace. He was almost clipped there by Chalabar, but he runs into Hughes, and Watford regain possession. Zinkernagel back towards Hughes again. And now Surialta with the top knot bobbing finds João Pedro in the centre circle, but he's quickly challenged by Holmes, and here is Elise with space and pace to burn down the right hand side. It's back towards Yeardom, and Mate on the right corner of the penalty area. I think was looking for somebody on the overlap, but nothing was forthcoming. But he does well to turn beyond Serialta, but the cross is too deep, and it will be run clear by Firmino on this near side. Infield to Chalobah. Chalobah with an excellent ball with backspin over the top, dropping into the path of Ismail Assar down the right-hand side. But the crossing from him, in comparison with what else he's produced so far this evening, was woeful.
Yeah, Chalobah with another superb pick out. You can see the confidence that he's playing with right now, really enjoying himself in the Watford midfield. Reading nice and tidy, Nigel, to a point, and then it just all seems to be breaking down. Mate with some brilliant approach play on the right hand side, but once more overcooking his delivery, and that's been the story of the game so far for the Royals.
Elise now down the left-hand side for Reading. 26 minutes played on TalkSport 2. Watford leading here by 2-0. Laurent now will strike a shot, and it's into the arms of Bachmann on the edge of the 6-yard area. Hit it right-footed. Decent connection, but much too close to the goalkeeper.
Yeah, it looked like he was just trying to shape it towards that far corner. The bounce would have made it difficult had it had the direction, but Bachmann, as you say, has taken it easily, started confidently, and looks to be an inspired decision by the manager putting him in. He's definitely repaying him at the moment.
Well, he's somebody who has really grown in confidence the longer he's been in the team this season. He had a couple of games in the FA Cup last year when he conceded 3 here against Tranmere in the third round, when Watford were 3 goals up and ended up losing the replay, and he was all over the place in that game. And he's had a couple of games early on since replacing Ben Foster, when he sometimes struggled under the high ball, but since then he's been very good. Here is Laurent now coming forward. A shot from him across the face of goal, right-footed, and he drags it wide, and he had both Puskás and Elise in support.
Yeah, first real give away from Watford in a dangerous position. Chalobah just trying to pop it off to a teammate, dispossessed, and Laurent maybe finding himself in uncharted territory, really. Drags his shot quite badly, used the run of Puskás as a decoy to get the space right hand side of the box. Hughes was the Watford player tracking him, but never going to danger never going to trouble the goalkeeper.
Quinton Fortune just stepping out from behind Veljko Paunovic to have a quick word with the Reading head coach, and he was deep in conversation with John O'Shea and Tom Cleverley before kick-off. Of course, all former Manchester United teammates. And Watford will be heading back to Old Trafford and other grounds in the Premier League next season, the way things are looking. And it will be curious for their fans, because they were a Premier League team the last time they watched the game here, and in all probability they'll be a Premier League team again when they come back into the stadium. Now Raphael will spot up a goal kick away to our right-hand side. 28 minutes played. 2 goals from Ismail Assar have given Watford a comfortable lead here, and they're heading for their 17th home win of the season. The club record is 18, which was achieved under Graham Taylor when he and Watford won the 4th division back in 1978, and there's a huge mural of Graham Taylor in the lower tier of the stand which bears his name on the far side. And of course everything that Watford managers do is judged against his record, which is absolutely right for its excellence and longevity. And of course Xisco Munoz has been brought to the club at a time when they have a turnstile rather than a door in the manager's office, but he's doing all he can at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Seems to have really energised this squad. I think both managers tonight have done a really fine job. Paunovic hardly done any business in the transfer market. I think just 3 players joining permanently. He's transformed Reading's fortunes, but
and he only arrived a week before the season.
Yeah, absolutely. I think people very surprised that they went for him, but he's definitely improved players. Some players that were mediocre probably in Reading shirts before have had top seasons for them. Seems to be a bubbly character. Everyone around the ground saying his demeanour seems to be the same, win, lose or draw. I think that's certainly inspired the players to this season that they're currently having. There's a bit of needle between the two sides right now, Nigel. Watford seem incredibly fired up for this game. They seem to want to put down a marker tonight. You know, they're nearly there. They can sense it. They've been really aggressive the way they've got about Reading. There's maybe a couple of uncompromising challenges as well since they've taken the lead, and a few players coming together in the last few moments.
Well, there was an undercurrent during the game at the Medeski Stadium when Reading won by a goal to nil, and maybe that's carried over. Now Chalabar on this near side just runs out of play under pressure from Lawrence, and it will be a throw-in to Reading on this near side. Half an hour played. We welcome listeners from TalkSport here at Vicarage Road, where Watford lead Reading by 2 goals to nil. 2 stunning goals from Ismail Assar within the space of 2 minutes. On the 12th and 14th minute, the first curled in from the right-hand side, and the second hammered in from such a narrow angle. Sam Parkin is alongside me, and those 2 goals undoubtedly were Premier League quality.
They were, and Sar's shown it consistently this season back in the Championship. I mean, Reading have had loads of the ball. They've not been able to hurt Watford at all. Watford always look so composed. They really trust the way they set up defensively. And when you've got Sar on the side, you've always got a chance, and people will enjoy watching those goals later. One with the left, beautifully bent in, lovely quality, and then the second one just all about power from the right-hand side. Drilled it unerringly into the top left-hand corner. 2 brilliant goals, and Watford hugely in command right now.
And if Watford win this game, they will be 12 points clear of 3rd place in the Championship, looking well set for a return to the Premier League. But Reading will be vulnerable to Bournemouth's challenge tomorrow, only a point ahead of them, and Bournemouth would have 2 games in hand, including a match against Coventry at the Vitality tomorrow, as Yeardom looks to come forward for Reading on the far side. They've been neat and tidy without ever really threatening the Watford goal on a regular basis. Now Gibson, who gave away the ball in the build-up to the second goal, infield towards Elise again, and he's forced back towards Moore, the Reading captain. And don't forget, coming up on TalkSport 2 tomorrow, more games from the Championship in game day. Millwall against Swansea at 12:30, and that's followed by Bournemouth against Coventry at 3 o'clock. And here was an opportunity for Matey inside the penalty, plays it in field towards Puskas, 3 yards out under pressure. He hits the near post.
Well, we talk about Premier League quality, Nigel, in the Watford ranks. What has Michael Elise just produced for Reading? It's an absolutely outstanding slaloming run. He takes 3 Watford players at the game. Little disguised pass to the right-hand side. Mate squares it perfectly for Puskas, and he's got a score, hasn't he? I think he's maybe just in advance of the near post when he makes contact. No, he's not. He sees enough of the goal there, Nigel. He's got to open up his side foot and cushion that into the goal, and what a golden chance for Reading to get back.
And they needed it. Commentary continues over on TalkSport 2. 32 minutes played. It is Watford 2, Reading 0. And as you say, in the situation Reading are in, they've got to go in. A goal before half-time would really give them something to try and use as a platform. They do have a free kick here.
They've been so dogged in the midfield, Watford, haven't they? They've not really allowed the Reading players to escape their marking, if you like, and Elise just strode forward. Their beautiful play, best bit of play that a Reading players produced, and ended in a great opportunity for Puskas. Should have scored.
Now Gibson, found by Elise on this near side, looks to go beyond Firmino, who seemed to carry the ball out of play and behind for a corner, but a throw-in's been given. Here is Laurent now. And Laurent looks to break down the Watford left, but he heads into traffic and doesn't emerge with the ball. And now Ismail Assar bobs and weaves beyond both Laurent and Gibson and plays the ball over the top, looking for João Pedro, but it's overhit, and I think Sarr may just have been caught there in the act of passing the ball forward, and it's gathered by Raphael, but he is absolute lightning.
Yeah, just stretching, wasn't it? If that had happened maybe 30 yards further forward, he probably would have got towards goal and created something on the Reading target once more, but probably fortunately for Reading, he had loads of ground to try and cover to get towards their danger area. Rinamoto sensed that, was able to come across and make something of a challenge, ricochet to safety.
Reading heading for their 7th successive home win, which would be their best run since the year 2000. The club record is 8 in a row. And at the moment, this game's not been entirely plain sailing for them, but they are comfortably in control with 10 minutes to play in the first half, leading by 2 goals to nil. And there's Premier League commentary coming up on TalkSport 2 later on this weekend. Sunday at noon, live from Turf Moor, Burnley against Newcastle, and then on Monday, 6 o'clock kickoff on TalkSport 2. Another key game at the bottom for West Brom at home to Southampton. Now Troost-Ekong, a long ball over the top, but Chalobah knew he was offside, so didn't bother challenging for it, and it will be an opportunity for Reading to build from the back once again. Tom Holmes, one of 12 players under the age of 23 who've been given first team appearances by Veljko Paunovic this season. The accent has very much been on youth. Now Messina with the ball into the penalty area, and the flag's up for offside against Ismail Assar, so he is denied his hat-trick. He was convinced it was okay, but of course no VAR in the Championship. The flag was raised and it won't count.
Yeah, we've hardly seen Watford's left-hand side combine, get forward offside into a position to deliver the ball, but Messina puts in an outstanding ball. Sarr tucks it away beautifully once more. First time really that's been an avenue for them.
Now a high cross into the penalty area for Reading from the far side from Elise, but he shows his frustration, bounces up and down on the balls of his feet as the cross was overhit, and Watford have a throw on the near side with 36 minutes played. Watford leading 2-0 thanks to Ismail Assar. And had he just checked his run half a yard, he would have had a hat-trick, because nobody in a blue and white hoop shirt was getting anywhere near him.
And he finished it like a centre forward there, didn't he? Yeah, maybe not someone you'd associate with getting those little tap-ins around the 6-yard box, but finished it beautifully, playing with great confidence now, and wonderful delivery from Messina, who's really grown into this season as well, having a real purple patch right now, I think, producing some good deliveries into the box, and that was wonderful football once more. It's a little bit easy for Watford to create right now, you know, every time they come forward, looks like there may be a chance in the offing.
Jaria has been fouled by Chalobah, so Reading have a free kick. On this near side there left, it's worked short from Elise to Ajaria. Now back to Gibson, driven diagonal ball, and it skips off the playing surface as it bounces inside the penalty area beyond Holmes on the far side and behind for a goal kick. They just need to be a bit smarter than that.
Be interesting to see what the manager, you know, does if it remains like this into the second half. Does he go João and Puskas in tandem together? Does he go really searching for something tonight, or does he accept that maybe it's not going to be their evening and highlight some of these games that are going to be forthcoming in the next weeks? Since that this is a big game for them, if they could take something tonight, there's heat pressure on Bournemouth for when they turn up tomorrow, but at the moment looking like the home side are going to get maximum points here.
Elise once again, Reading having a strong finish to the first half, having conceded twice within the opening 14 minutes. Now Elise wide towards the far side, and Yeardom just has to check, and then maybe thought about the left-footed shot, but he's crowded out, and he tried to find Gibson, but it's given away to Sarr. Sarr into the path of João Pedro, who tries the first-time ball wide to this near side, and Chalobah, who was the third man run, but he scuffed the attempted pass, and Reading regained possession. But they take a chance, Reading. Once again, they almost give the ball away, but Lawrence is able to pop it forward towards Puskas, who, under pressure, plays it back towards Liam Moore. Now wide towards the far side, and Rinomhota has support from Elise, and everything going through Michael Elise for Reading at the moment as we head towards half-time here on TalkSport 2 on what is a fairly mild, still night here at Vicarage Road. Now Puskas flicks the ball wide looking for Meite, but it's scrambled clear by Serialta. Here is Ajaria though on the left corner of the penalty area. He invites Gibson to move forward on the overlap, but it's in towards Lauren, deep inside the penalty area. He tries to stab it towards goal. It's blocked by the legs of Bachmann, and eventually it's smuggled clear by Watford.
It's a really good spell for Reading, playing some lovely stuff in the Watford half, and that was just great awareness from Lauren, because Ajaria just pokes it down the side, and he recognises he doesn't have to take control. He doesn't need to take it under his spell, or maybe with his back to goal, and just allows it to run across his body. That enables the space for the strike, and Bachmann does wonderfully actually at the near post. Really top save with his legs.
And there was a problem for Nathaniel Chalabar inside the penalty area. He challenged Lawrence as he fired that shot in, and he's one of two Watford players who are down. Kiko Firmino also seems to have a problem on the left-hand side of his rib cage as he staggers across towards this near side. And eventually James Linnington will wave on the medical teams. Kiko Firmino looks to be okay. And it's a real conundrum here for Veljko Paunovic, because they're in a real spot here. You would think that Bournemouth will win tomorrow. They're in decent form. I know Coventry need points at the other end of the table, so they could be outside the top six. They've only been outside for a week just before Christmas in the entire season, but if you drop out at this stage, it can be often very difficult to get back in.
Yeah, possibly. I think you just look at the momentum that Bournemouth seem to have picked up with these last couple of results. Again, I see real similarities between the two sides, but I think the experienced players at Bournemouth, they look to have loads of creativity inside, and I suspect they'll finish in the playoffs. So I do think it's probably going to be a straight shootout between Reading and Barnsley, and that's going to boil down to whether Barnsley can keep their foot on the gas, because they've been motoring, haven't they, for a couple of months now. It's been incessant. There's been a couple of little hiccups here and there. Sheffield Wednesday defeat recently, but it's whether they can continue this intensity and keep picking up the points. That's going to be the interesting thing. But Reading's fixtures, they're tough. There's no getting away from that. Norwich, Swansea, Cardiff, all still to come. Big games.
Cardiff at home, Luton away, Swansea at home, Norwich away, Huddersfield at home. So not easy, because they've also got side like Huddersfield, who you never know, may need something on the final day to stay up. And here is Zinkernagel for Watford, now finding Seymour on the edge of the penalty area, intelligently works it wide to Messina down the left, the cross back in, looking for Seymour, who looked to raise his boot to challenge Holmes, who had it clear, but players allowed to continue. Hughes wide towards Messina again. It's a driven ball in over the head of Sarr, but gathered by Firmino, who brings it down well at the far post, crossed into the penalty area, headed away by Moore. It'll drop to Zinkernagel. Left-footed shot from him is blocked, possibly by a teammate in there, and it's Yedom who will clear.
Yeah, it looks like it strikes Seymour, wasn't it? He sorted his feet out really well there, Zinkernagel, to strike left-footed.
Hughes with the ball in, chested down by Ismaila Sarr on the edge of the penalty area with his back to goal, laid back to Chalabar, and now wide to this near side, the right, and Firmino. Another teasing cross in, headed away at the near post by Gibson, but the pressure continues. Zinkernagel now tries to fire towards goal, but he slices it under pressure from Elise, and it's behind for a goal kick with 2 minutes of normal time to play in the first half here on TalkSport 2, and Watford leading 2-0.
Electric going forward, aren't they? Every time they get around the Reading box, they've created something, got a shot away. They look like they're going to danger their opponent. Reading have had to work really hard for their two chances. Watford looking full of enterprise going forward.
Yeah, they tend to hunt in packs, Watford, and that makes it very difficult. But that's a sign of confidence, because when things weren't going so well for them, they'd be going forward in ones and twos, but now it's a unit.
And when Reading have got the ball kind of in this area here, around the halfway line, they almost suck you into a full sense of security. When the forward players get goal side of the ball, they look that they're not interested. All of a sudden, Sarr, Pedro stick out a leg, interceptions, and then they're at you. They know they've got that scintillating pace in the two wide forwards to really hurt you, even if the ball gets overturned around the halfway line. So it's a bit of a dangerous game that Reading are playing, but you admire it because they've come back from 2 goals behind to dictate the ball, not always hurting Watford, but playing their way, in a unique way.
Lovely feet from Ajari now on the edge of the penalty area. Left-footed shot from him is blocked by Trooster Kong. Gibson out down the left, he goes for goal, and he's sliced across the face from the ball to hit it left-footed, and it arcs over the angle, but Ajari there almost producing something which could match Ismaila Sarr.
Yeah, there's no doubt that those two players, Ajaria and Elise, the sprinkling of star quality really in this Reading lineup, have turned up tonight. They fancy it, they're enjoying themselves. getting on the ball when it ricocheted up there, just too tempting for Gibson not to take the strike on, but sliced across the ball and went away to safety. But there's enough there, Nigel, I would say, that the conversation at half-time will be quite positive for Reading. I'm sure defensively they've not been quite at it and they've been punished for a few mistakes, but going forward there's something for them.
Here is Rinomota coming forward now, wide to this near side, the left, and Ajaria once again. Puskás waits in the centre, but it's low towards Rinomota, laid back out towards Elise now, whose first touch is just a bit heavy, forces him into the left wing area, turns and whips in the cross, which is gathered unchallenged by Bachmann as we enter a minimum of 3 more minutes.
It's good again, one of the central midfield players breaking beyond the front line. I think it was Rinomota who received it from Ajaria off the left hand side. He went for the return, and then there was just a footing, I think, from Will Hughes that just diverted the ball and took it away from Ajaria, who was just approaching the edge of the box. Would have been a good position to take the strike on.
Terrible ball forward now from Troost-Ekong. A break into the penalty for Meite, and Meite hits the side netting when really he should have scored. Another glorious opportunity for Reading comes to nothing.
Yeah, I've not seen Watford this sloppy in a game for a long time. That's 3 chances, certainly 2 that they presented really Reading's way, and once Meite gets in, lovely shift to his right hand side, got to work the goalkeeper, just took it on, looked a little bit uncomposed really once he gets in, a little bit rash with his strike, and it just whistles into the near post side netting. So 3 great opportunities for Reading to get something back in this game.
Well, Veljko Paunovic almost booted over a whole rack of water bottles inside the Reading technical area there, turned away, shaking his head, because his side have had the chances to get back into this game. Puskás hitting the post from a couple of yards out, Lawrence forcing a fine save from Bachmann, and Meite there not even working the goalkeeper. Watford moving forward now themselves with João Pedro into the penalty area, left hand side, just runs out of room, carries the ball behind, and it's a goal kick.
Yeah, you wouldn't have envisaged this game being so open. I think Reading struggling a little bit defensively, considering a little bit patched up and obviously missing some big players, but Watford uncharacteristically sloppy. Certainly when they're playing out on the ball, Reading have been able to nick things, and then they've worked it well to get themselves into shooting position. So he should be on the score sheet undoubtedly with 3 really good chances.
Now Gibson, short ball to Laurent on this near side for Reading. Good challenge though from Ismail Assad, wrapped his legs around to win the ball back, but Reading do have a throw in taken quickly by Gibson. Now Puskás lumbers forward down the Reading left, back towards Ajaria again. Troost-Ekong is a fairly secure barrier for Watford, but Lawrence has managed to find Ajaria. Here is Elise. It's a neat triangle possession for Reading, but will there be an end product deep into added time in the first half? Gibson now looks to change the point of the attack with a high ball from left to right. Leaping to keep the ball in play was Meite. Now Yeardom with a burst into the penalty area, and he's still going. Yeardom needs some support, checks, then hits the byline, fires the ball in towards the near post, and it's palmed away by Bachmann and cleared by Hughes.
Yeah, terrific stuff. Fullback joining in. Him and Meite have a good relationship there. Meite comes in field, allows Yeardom to bomb down the right hand side. Great footwork and stinging strike on the end of it as well.
And it's given away again in a dangerous area by Watford. Here is Elise now, weaving into the penalty area. Low cross in towards the near post, and it's sent behind by a Watford head for a corner, but the half-time whistle goes before it can be taken, and Watford was sloppy there just before half-time, but they produced the game's 2 standout moments, 2 goals in 2 minutes early on from Ismail Assar, both of Premier League quality. But Reading have had their chances in response and haven't taken them. Half-time, Watford 2, Reading 0. Yeah, thank you, Dan. It's a change for Watford. Carlos Sanchez is coming on, the veteran Colombian, to replace Nathaniel Chalabar. He was injured late in the first half, and possibly that's a change which Xisco Munoz may have had in his mind late in the opening 45 minutes. So it will be a slight change in emphasis in the Watford midfield, it seems, Sam, with maybe Will Hughes possibly going a bit wider.
Yeah, it looks like he'll just pop forward one position, play as one of the advanced ones, and Sanchez is more an orthodox holding midfielder as well, so maybe with a view to keeping an eye on Elise, who was dictating proceedings, you have to say, from about the 20-minute mark. Him and Ajaria really enjoying themselves, so yeah, they've got someone in, I suppose, more direct combat with him now to try and stop Reading getting into their flow.
Carlos Sanchez coming off the bench for the 6th time since moving from West Ham. The Watford team is now Bachmann in goal, Kiko Firmino, Trustekong, Serialta and Messina the back four, Sanchez, Hughes and Zinchenko in midfield, Sarr, João Pedro and Seymour in attack. No changes for Reading made at half-time. Raphael in goal, Yeardom, Holmes, Moore and Gibson the back four, Rinomota and Lawrence in midfield, Meite, Elise, Jaria and Puskás in attack. And now Will Hughes just drifting over to the right-hand side. Carlos Sanchez, of course, now 35 years of age, known as the Rock at various times in his career. He will very much be the sitter just in front of the Watford back four. It's a long ball played forward for the Hornets, but it's gathered by Meite on this near side, tries to play the ball around the corner looking for the run of Elise, but it's gathered by Messina down the Watford left, high cross into the penalty area looking for João Pedro, and it bounces high into the arms of Raphael.
A terrific pass again from Messina. It was only a fraction out of being collected by João Pedro on the shoulder of Holmes, I think it was, in between the two centre-halves, and just couldn't collect it. A lovely pass. Messina showed good variety in his delivery with his left foot.
But 2-0 to Watford, 2 minutes into the second half here at Vicarage Road, as the temperature just begins to drop a bit. A wee bit chilly now as Reading have a throw-in midway inside their own half on the far side. Lewis Gibson, who had a torrid start to the game trying to cope with Ismaila Sarr, who scored twice in the opening 14 minutes. He delivers it long down the line. Now Carlos Sanchez rising above Elise, and unsurprisingly it was Sanchez who won the header, and he's left Elise on the ground as well, but the ball is eventually transferred wide to the Reading left-hand side, where they have a throw-in which Gibson can take maybe 40 yards further up the field. And Reading just need the next goal in this game as Gibson plays it back towards Elise. Still seems winded by that aerial duel with Carlos Sanchez, who's just flexing his left arm as well, as Yeardom has it for Reading on this near side. Down the line, looking for Meite, who had a great chance late in the first half. Meite has to take the long way round as he's challenged by Seymour. And it's Rinomota who takes over. Has support from Yeardom again. Down the Reading right. Yeardom will now try and continue towards the byline, but once again there was double coverage, but he's done well to nutmeg Messina. Delivers a high cross into the penalty area. It'll be controlled by Lawrence at the far post. Lawrence, though, is just pulled further wide by Kiko Firmino, and the ball, in the end, goes out of play on the far side for a throw-in to Reading, and things not quite falling for the Royals inside the area.
Great quality from Yeardom again down the right hand side. He's made a couple of brilliant runs getting to the byline, just wouldn't sit with it at the far post, just skips off the surface, and Reading players unable to bring it under their spell. But they'll be pleased with the way they've started, but it's almost in keeping with a lot of games I've seen here. Watford have been sloppy in that first half, that said, so they have to improve, they'll have to sharpen up, but just seem happy when they get the goals for the good, to trust those two centre-halves in particular are going to see the game over the line.
Watford's home record, 16 wins, 2 draws and 2 defeats, and it could become 17 wins in around 40 minutes time, the way this game is going. Leading by 2 goals to nil as a long ball downfield for Watford is nodded down by João Pedro, looking for Sarr, but Reading this time get bodies around the ball. Gibson with a long ball forward, but it's quickly cut out by Sanchez. Poked forward towards Zinchenko, who received the ball on the half turn. Initially scoots away from the challenge of Rinomota. Back towards Hughes, who remains a stylish presence at the heart of the Watford midfield. Sanchez finding Messina, and now Seymour, who again looks to use his power and technique to go beyond Rinomota. Rinomota's gone down, clutching his right shoulder, but the referee James Linnington saw nothing wrong, and now a long ball is played forward for Reading, and George Puskás shoves over Serialta, who needed very little invitation to go to ground to get the free kick, but that sort of challenge from Puskás is only going to go one way.
Yeah, it just doesn't have that turn of pace, does he, Puskás, to get in behind when he tries to stretch the Watford defence. The two centre-halves have coped with that threat relatively well. He's not done badly, but I would imagine João will be onto the pitch probably in the next 10-15 minutes, either alongside Puskás or maybe to replace him. But yeah, Just going to say, Nigel, I think Zinkernagel's had a good night. He's taken up loads of good positions behind the two holding midfield players of Reading. Really intelligent positional play. Always gets turned on the half turn and then immediately at the heart of the Reading defence. So got a nice balance in there. Sanchez sitting, Will Hughes can play as an 8, and you can see Zinkernagel's position now right up there kind of as a number 10 around João Pedro. So nice balance and variety in their midfield shape.
And when he came, Zinckernagel, he was seen as a wide player, wasn't he? But maybe slightly one-dimensional. But even over a relatively short span of time, he's added so much to his game, or maybe they found it.
I saw them beat Forest with the midfield three of Hughes, Zinckernagel and João Pedro here, which was the most attacking midfield I've ever seen in my life, and Nottingham Forest hardly laid a glove on them. So it really has worked. You know, the manager's decisions, the tactical little tweaks have really come off in the last couple of months.
Reading have brought out an exercise bike in the second half, and their players are popping onto it before they come on, and that's something which João Pedro is looking to do at the moment. He's taken off his tracksuit. He's just there in his Reading kit with the high visibility bib on at the moment, and a steward just outside the red zone has to move out of the way to allow him to get on the bike.
Didn't we see that a few years ago? It was all the rage.
Chris Coleman used to do it at Fulham, didn't he?
Yeah.
Had 3 or 4 on the Riverside stand at Fulham. That's
I think it might be Omar Richards. Is it getting ready to get on there now as well? That'd be a little bit of a surprise. Certainly a shame for Lewis Gibson if it's a like-for-like change.
Of course, Omar Richards heading to pastures new next season, and since that was announced, then he seems to be in and out of favour with increasing regularity.
Yeah, I think it was a surprise to see him left out for the Barnsley game, wasn't it? I think the manager spoke of the extra physicality needed from Gibson, which does kind of stand up against the onslaught you're going to get at Oakwell, but still strange considering he's been such a big player for them this season.
Sanchez heads a high ball on from Will Hughes inside the Reading penalty area, and it's behind for a goal kick. 52 minutes played on TalkSport 2. Watford leading Reading by 2 goals to 0. Millwall against Swansea coming up at 12:30 tomorrow, followed by Bournemouth against Coventry. If it stays like this, Bournemouth can move above Reading into the playoff places once again. They avoid defeat in that game. Over on TalkSport, Manchester City against Leeds, 12:30 kick-off. Palace against Chelsea at 5:30 with Game Day Live. All the goals as they go in with Adrian Durham in between those games, live from Pride Park, where Norwich could be promoted tomorrow if they win and Swansea and Brentford don't win, as Gibson has been clattered into by Hughes on the far side, and it will be a free kick. And Reading may have to make that change to get Richards on the field a bit sooner here, because Gibson's just down on his haunches. But he looks to be okay. And Liam Moore, the captain, will take the free kick for Reading. It's been a rather quiet start to the second half, and they need things to happen very quickly. It's long downfield looking for Puskás, who heads the ball infield. Elise was the target, but Sanchez intervenes, and now Hughes with the ball down the line for Firmino, almost deflects into the path of Zinckernagel, but Reading recover possession. Ajaria on the far side, twisting and turning away from Firmino. Lovely close control from him once again, and Rinomhota will find Elise inside the centre circle, and he's caught and fouled by Seymour, and it will be a free kick to Reading. And there's no doubt, whether they're in the Premier League or not next season as a club, they've got a few players who probably will be.
Can't get near those two, Nigel. They really can't. Their close control is exceptional, awareness as well, having to foul them continuously really, and Reading just missing that finisher tonight, aren't they? Because they've had 2 great chances really. Puskás and Mate, one apiece. Should have put the gloss on 2 brilliant little bits of play from Elise in particular in that first half, really showing his quality tonight.
Well, they've got a striker with 22 goals on the bench.
Yeah, he won't be on there too much longer, I would say, especially given how the last 7 days played out. You know, coming on against Derby, getting the goal, so they put to bed what has been a bad week for him.
Now Mate, short towards Ajaria, 25 yards out for Reading. He's got support from Gibson. Gibson's high cross into the area, just over the head of Puskás. It's recovered though by Laurent, but he in turn has lost out to Seymour. Seymour plays it forward, but he was just clipped there, and there will be a yellow card shown. And it was Rinomota who eventually caught him, and it's a free kick to Watford as Seymour looked to release João Pedro on this near side.
Yeah, it looks like a challenge. That was just trying to halt the Watford counter-attack. Brilliant play again from Sarr. He's just so sharp. He still gets the ball away in the direction of João Pedro, but poor challenge, definitely yellow card.
And Seymour is still down and will require some treatment here, just inside the Watford half. And you can hear the hand claps there from a member of Veljko Paunovic's backroom team, just looking to try and keep their side motivated. They could have had the stuffing completely knocked out of them by the two early goals from Ismail Assar, but they responded well, but really should have scored at least one goal before half-time. And now Xisco Munoz is actually out on the pitch, demonstrating to a couple of his players what he's hoping for them to do. Of course, he was a tricky winger during his time at Valencia, part of the squad which Rafa Benitez guided to La Liga and the UEFA Cup back in the day. And Seymour looks to be okay, but it's Ismail Assar, I should say, who was down, and it will be a decision to be made here for Xisco Munoz as Assar hobbles across to this near side.
Yeah, I want to keep him on Moni at this stage, just in case that goal does be scored by Reading the next one in this game, just to make sure they've got that attacking flair on there. Should they need to go for the third at the moment, very content just to kind of sit in Watford, not sending too many bodies forward. They know the game is won essentially if they can keep it tight at the other end, and it's up to Reading to come up with the answers really to get the goal back.
With the exception of the Bristol City game and the Forest game, and they really cut loose, they don't tend to hammer teams, do they? They just do what they need to do and then make sure they don't concede.
Yeah, absolutely. Caught Bristol City at a good time that night as well, I think, with a multitude of injuries for the visitors. But yeah, they've just taken care of business, haven't they? Always got enough in the side to get one or two goals, but not rip roaring.
Sarr now plays it wide to Seymour on this near side, but challenge comes in from Yeardom, and Elise now with a lovely step over to drift away from the challenge of Sanchez. Wide to this near side in Yeardom, but the challenge comes across from Messina, and some very attractive approach play from Elise comes to nothing once again. Now Zinkernagel for Watford, darting forward down the centre. He's got support from Seymour on the edge of the penalty area, almost fed it back in field towards Zinkernagel once again, but Seymour will recover the cleared ball as João Pedro and Sarr ahead of him. Messina in support down this near side, the left, and it's a high crossfield ball from him, and he's picked out for Minya, who was isolated Gibson. The cross in towards the near post, Moore leaping above João Pedro, and Yeardom wasn't too sure where Seymour was, so just knocks it behind for a corner.
Yeah, two fullbacks again, Nigel, such quality. Messina's left foot, he's played 3 or 4 wonderful passes tonight, especially that crossfield one to pick out the opposite fullback, and they're always reliable with his delivery, puts Reading under pressure. Yeardom having to head behind, and another way they can hurt you. Certainly those fullbacks come to the top of their game just at the right time.
Corner's played short to Seymour. Now Zinkernagel on the edge of the penalty area, chops back onto his left foot. Low shot though was blocked by Holmes, and he will clear up towards the halfway line, and the ball bobbles towards the Reading technical area where it's controlled by Veljko Paunovic, and it will be a throw in for Watford, and the game rather meandering on at the moment with an hour played, and that will suit the Hornets, leading here by 2-0. And they are a side who have developed such defensive durability. They really had it under Vladimir Ivic, but of course they didn't score too many goals. It was very binary for Watford, either 1-0 or 0-0 most weeks. But there's a more attractive style offered by Xisco Munoz's team, but they still really have a door slammed shut most weeks of the season. Now Messina almost threaded the ball through to Zinkernagel, well read by Holmes, and he looks to play it wide to this near side. Mate further forward towards Elise, who's isolated Sanchez once again, and he drifts beyond him into the penalty area. He then goes down to suggest he was caught by Messina, but nothing is given, and Watford again just smothered the opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, Reading defending well at the moment. Holmes has got his foot on a couple of occasions to dispossess Watford players, sets Elise away, I think via Mate on that occasion, and Elise beautifully skips beyond the first challenge, but Watford have just got so many bodies back into defensive positions, there's nowhere for him to go, and once again it comes to nothing, and just need to move it a little bit sharper, and I'm sure that first change will be forthcoming. They need a catalyst from somewhere. Reading, I don't think it's out there right now.
Sonia Luko is just warming up at the moment as Ismail Assar looks to go beyond Gibson, but he's driven wide towards the corner flag down the Watford right. Gibson just will be a throw into Watford on the far side, and Reading have used the fewest players in the Championship, and maybe there are one or two signs of weariness the longer the season has gone on. Certainly away from home they've not been as productive. They scored 12 times in their first 6 away games. There are only 12 goals in the subsequent 14. Of course they had that brilliant start to the season, 7 wins and a draw. Since then they've really just been trying to keep their heads above water in the top 6. Yeardom goes between both João Pedro and Zinkernagel, plays a high cross into the penalty area beyond Puskás, and it's gathered by Bachmann. They've done some wonderful things, but the final ball's just not been good enough.
Yeah, it's all a bit hopeful, isn't it? It's just put into an area. I don't think he has a look to pick out Puskás. But brilliant approach play. Yeardom's been a real threat. The two fullbacks and the wide players have got lovely relationships. You know, you could say that about Gibson and Najari at times as well. Looks like we're about to see Richards come on.
And João.
Yeah, so it's a feature of their game. The two fullbacks join in wonderfully well. Mate goes infield, sometimes finds himself in the centre forward position, and obviously we've seen Najari has just afforded the luxury to go wherever he pleases.
Oh, the back pass there was just behind João Pedro as it's cleared away by Rafael long downfield. And both teams have taken a chance at times tonight, and Reading will make their double change. João and Richards are coming on, and it's Puskás who was replaced by Lucas João. 22 goals this season, 19 of them coming in the Championship. And Puskás just handballs off on the far side in front of the Graham Taylor stand. So Lucas João will be a straight swap for him. Omar Richards will be the other player coming on, and it's another straight swap with Lewis Gibson going off in the left back area.
Yeah, it looks like he might have a knock Gibson the way he's gone off, but obviously two of Reading's top players into the fray now. Not Puskás' night, but you have to commend the two Watford centre-halves. Again, they give the best centre-forwards at this level very little change, and that's happened once more tonight. We'll have to wait and see if João can affect them a little bit more than Puskás was able to.
Now Bachmann clears long downfield. It's taken down well by Seymour, but he was in an offside position, and it will be a free kick for Reading. 63 minutes played here on TalkSport 2, the home of the EFL. Watford leading by 2 goals to 0. They're moving 12 points clear of the playoff places in the Championship, and Reading could find themselves outside the top 6 by 5 o'clock tomorrow evening. Game Day Live with Adrian Durham is the best place to find out if they are. And of course here on TalkSport 2 we have commentary of Bournemouth against Coventry, the game which could see them displaced in the top 6. Still time for them to take something from this game. Yeardom with a ball forward on this near side, but it's controlled with the hand by Ken Seymour, and it will be a free kick for Reading, who just need a break here, just need something to happen for them.
Yeah, it's going to become tougher because he Watford back in a 5 now really. Well, the one is Sanchez, then there's a midfield 4 just leaving João Pedro up alone and just trying to close up those spaces that Ajaria and Elise have been able to exploit throughout the game really. I think they're looking like a real difficult proposition to get joy against now, Watford.
Watford have a local derby coming up next, away to Luton next Saturday. Nathan Jones and Mick Harford The management team at Kenilworth Road are at the other end of the Sir Elton John stand, watching this game here tonight. Of course, they still have Reading to play as well in the final weeks of the season. Here is Troost-Ekong for Watford, midway inside their own half, short into the feet of Sanchez, who of course lacks the mobility of Nathaniel Chalabar, but in the situation they're in, 2 goals up, fairly comfortable but not entirely comfortable. He can just help them to absorb any pressure that Reading can offer. Now Messina heads the ball in field towards Zinkernagel, who scored 22 goals in 31 games for Bodo Glimt, on the way to their surprising victory in the Norwegian title race last season. Came here as a goal-scoring winger, but is now a creative midfielder. As Seymour looks to fasten onto a lovely dummy from João Pedro, and it's played forward by Firmino, looking for Seymour again, but it's cleared by Richards and gathered again by Moore, who plays a good ball wide to this near side for Reading, and Yeardon quickly forward over the top, looking for the pace of Lucas João. Serialta judged it superbly to just watch the ball drop onto his head, and now though, as the ball comes down to the earth, he almost gives it away to Mate.
Yeah, chances at both end. Watford with 2 opportunities really to breach that Reading back line, but once more, not for the first time in this second half. Holmes with a brilliant foot in, and then Yeardon going a little bit direct, trying to release João, but well defended, as you said, Nigel.
El Ajari looking to carve a path right down the centre of the Watford team. 2 or 3 players had a nibble at his ankles before he was eventually brought down by Messina, and it will be a free kick here for Reading, about 25 yards out dead centre.
Yeah, great football again from Ajari. It looks like there's nowhere to go, and the best he can do is draw the foul, really, and it's forthcoming. Watford challenge sending into the deck, and it's probably 30 yards, isn't it? It's a long way out. I think Police looking interested. Watford player down currently. Troost-Ekong, is it, I think?
Yeah, I think he went to ground in the act of trying to take down Ajari. And there will be a change for Watford very soon as well.
It's going to be Cathcart for him, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think as well, the way the game's getting stretched now, Pedro's really been on the periphery, to be quite frank. I'd imagine Gray or Success will be on just to give them that mobility and real drive, because they're going to have to go a bit longer. I think now that the midfield is back on the toes of the defensive 4, just soaking up everything Reading's got. They want a runner down the middle. João Pedro's more a feet merchant.
Well, Elise will be over this free kick. 6 goals already for the French teenager. This season Reading have really shared the goals out well in support of Lucas João. Similar story for Guelph. And there were a succession of penalties for Troy Deeney before his injury in February. And William Troost-Ekong is heading towards this near side, and he won't be able to continue, and Craig Cathcart is the player who'll come on to replace him. Scored the first goal of the championship season back in September against Middlesbrough, live on TalkSport 2 on a Friday night. And of course, so much has happened since in a relatively short space of time. And that motivation you can hear is from the Watford bench, because they've really performed rather sporadically since half-time, haven't they?
They have, but I just think that I don't know if it's a subconscious thing, or they just they trust in what they do. You know, when they got the goals, why do you have to go in over it, exert yourself, send 2 more bodies forward when the game is essentially won, and you can rely on what has been so secure through the majority of the season. I mean, you know, glimmer of hope now for Reading, I would say, with Cathcart, who I hadn't had a look, but I presume hasn't played for a while, because that centre-half partnership has been so successful. So try and get him, test him, work his touch, make sure that they're pressing him in particular.
Elise over the free kick, curls it, and in the end it's a comfortable save for Backman.
Yeah, a bit far out, doesn't have that real power in his shooting. That said, he did get a wonderful goal from the edge of the D at the weekend, but that was another 10, 12 yards further out. Never going to trouble the goalkeeper, took it easily.
Now Hughes striding forward for Watford, has support to his left from Messina. Messina now with 4 to pick out. Low cross whipped in, and in the end it's deflected behind. It was Zinkernagel, who was careering into the penalty area, and it's high and wide for a goal kick.
Yeah, maybe a little bit fiercely struck from Messina on that occasion, still finds its target though. Can't question his quality when he's got into the final third, but again, maybe it's the fraction behind Zinkernagel, and deflection took it by wide and handsome, but a good opportunity for Watford on the counter.
And Cathcart's first Watford game since the 27th of February, when Watford lost 1-0 at Bournemouth. He has played twice since then for Northern Ireland in World Cup qualifiers. As Holmes plays an excellent ball forward down this right hand side for Meite, and Reading with the opportunity to try and attack. Zinkernagel comes back though, and he defends superbly to get his body between Meite and the ball, and possibly just a lack of conviction there from Meite when it really mattered, and Watford win it back as João Pedro is cleaned out by a challenge from Riedom on this near side, who then crunches into Hughes. No free kicks given, and in fairness to Hughes, he was straight back on his feet and he said fair enough.
Yeah, brilliant. Two magnificent challenges, isn't it?
João Pedro didn't.
Yeah. No, two great challenges. Enjoyed that from Will Hughes as well.
Yeah, that was good to see, although João Pedro was, I think, looking to get a free kick, to be kind to him. 71 minutes played here at Vicarage Road on TalkSport 2. Watford 2, Reading 0. Both goals in the opening 14 minutes from Ismail Assar. And we had a flurry of chances for both sides during the first half, but it's been lower key since the break. Watford just happy to try and see this game out and maintain their great position in second place. As Sanchez is having a shirt pulled by Elise on this near side, and it's a free kick for Watford. And one or two Reading players just beginning to look a bit frustrated now.
Yeah, Meite looking a little bit leggy down on this right hand side, lacked the conviction to create something or really put Messina under pressure the last time those two were in direct competition.
Wide towards the far side for Ismail Assar, who was initially won back by Ajari, but here is Firmino coming forward now for Watford down their right hand side. Short ball towards Hughes inside the penalty area. Zinkernagel demanding it square. His right footed shot though thuds into the body of Rinomota, and it will be a throw-in on the far side for Watford once again. And they are just managing the clock here, heading towards yet another home win. It will be 7 wins in succession here at Vicarage Road since that 1-0 defeat, or rather 2-1 defeat against Queen's Park Rangers back on the 1st of February. Now a lovely flick into the penalty area from Firmino to find Ismail Assar, and Sarr now finds Firmino again, but he's offside as the cross is delivered in, and it's a free kick.
Oh, terrific stuff. Will Hughes, Firmino, beautiful link-up play on the far side. Sarr involved as well, just unfortunate that Firmino got himself in an offside position. You're willing it to end up at the foot of a Watford player, really, considering how incisive the build-up had been.
Riedom now drills a long ball forward, looking for João Pedro, but it's cut out, and now it's played forward for Sanchez once again. João Pedro wide towards Messina. Seymour calling for the ball midway inside the Reading half, tight to the touchline down the left hand side. Now Hughes takes over once again, back towards Messina. Seymour, one of those typically cute flicks in field, looking for Hughes, but the pass was behind Hughes. Hughes then drags back Elise, and he's shown the yellow card.
Yeah, he had a couple of little bites at him, didn't he? Definitely the right decision from the referee, Elise. Brilliant footwork once more, so in control, brilliant balance. Will Hughes knows that he's got to make that attack come to a halt.
Elise now skips away from the challenge of Messina, left him standing. Now he's got the opportunity to take on Seymour on this near side, back towards Riedom. Riedom low into the area for Ejaria. Ejaria has Elise in support, tight to the byline, down the Reading right hand side, back towards Elise again. Now Ejaria. Coming short is Riedom, but the cross was aimed for João Pedro. Return back into the area for Richards. João Pedro looks to try and control it, or rather Lucas João looks to try and control it until it's hoofed up in the air by Firmino. Rinomota heads it back over the top. Lucas João believes he was fouled there by by Serialta. Nothing was given by the referee, who's done his best to try and let the game flow. And a long ball forward looking for João Pedro is guided back by Holmes towards Rafael.
He's been terrific. Holmes well defended once more. That was a little bit better for Reading, but it's hopeful balls into the box.
Well, João Pedro left something very late there on Holmes. The ball had gone, and then it was played back over the top looking for João Pedro, and of course it was Holmes who was playing him onside. Now, I'm not sure the referee saw that, but he did stop play because Holmes was down with a head injury. Bit naughty that from João Pedro.
Yeah, maybe just a little bit of an arm across the back of the head. Oh, a little follow through. Yeah, he's fortunate, isn't he?
He's very lucky there's no VAR, otherwise he'd be walking.
Yeah, not too much in it, but I think you're right.
Intense there, isn't it?
Yeah.
It was an arm across the back of the head there from João Pedro. He's been on the periphery of things in the second half and took out his frustrations there on Tom Holmes. 14 minutes to play. 2-0 to Watford here on TalkSport 2. Reading still searching hard for this goal which could give them some hope. It's Lucas João, brings it down neatly, finds Laurent wide towards the far side, and it was way beyond Ajaria. Richards did his best to recover it on the overlap, and it's straight out of play for a throw-in. And very quickly, Watford are taking off João Pedro, and I'm not surprised.
No,
the bench would have seen that.
I think his race was run anyway, though, wasn't it? He's been really on the fringe of the game in this second half throughout the contest, actually. Not been his best night, but you get a little bit more, I suppose, intent behind the Reading back line immediately with Gray and with Success. He'd probably come and play on this left-hand side and Gray down the middle, but yeah, João Pedro's a brilliant link player. What he doesn't want to do really is getting behind. That's what Watford will do in the remaining 30 minutes. They'll just turn Reading a little bit more frequently and try and get their defensive players up the pitch a bit quicker.
Yeah, Seamer and João Pedro replaced by Success and Gray. 77 minutes played. Long ball forward looking for Success. It'll break to Zinkernagel. Zinkernagel, though, left-footed, blazes way too high. A real opportunity to make it 3-0.
Yeah, I didn't fancy him when he got in. He's just lacked that little bit of composure when I've seen him on a few occasions. Fell nicely for him, little coming together. Looked like Success was going to take on, but Zinkernagel shrugged him away, left-footed. Lacked the quality, definitely, in the finish.
Now Moore, stronger than Ismail Assar in the challenge. Lucas João goes down as he was caught by Cathcart, but fairly. And here is Hughes now, on the far side, twisting and turning away from Laurent, and it'll be a throw into Reading, just in front of that huge canvas of Graham Taylor on the far side. Reading have had their chances in this game, but it is looking as though it will be a blank night for them, and a worrying day tomorrow as they look at the scores from elsewhere. Of course, they could yet be helped out by teams above them falling out of the top six, and Swansea at the moment look a bit vulnerable. 4 successive defeats without scoring a goal. They're live on TalkSport 2 at Millwall tomorrow at 12:30. As Ajaria comes forward now for Reading on the far side, back in field towards Elise on the edge of the penalty. Right foot shot from him, thumps into the body of Serialta, and he's gone down. Seemed to catch that in a nasty place, Francisco Serialta, but play continues as Moore slides in to win the ball back from Ismail Assar. Both players have gone down, clutching their ankles inside the Watford half as Lucas João now tangles with Will Hughes. It's all got very untidy, and both medical teams will be ushered on to give treatment to Carlos Sanchez and Liam Moore.
Yeah, brilliant wholehearted challenge from both players. You hope that neither of them are seriously injured. Absolutely steamed into that challenge. It broke beautifully forward for João. They were going to be in business, Reading, but didn't come to anything. We've seen a few wonderful challenges in the last few minutes, and the referee very pleased and very happy to let both sides get on with it, which is great.
I wonder if the referee saw that Forearm smash from Lucas João into Holmes. If he didn't, I suppose that could be revisited.
From João Pedro?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a brilliant challenge from Moore, wasn't it?
Well, he got the ball, and neither he or Carlos Sanchez were pulling out of it. And play will resume with a Watford free kick, and we're inside the final 10 minutes here on TalkSport 2. Watford scoring twice within the opening 14 minutes, and that's been enough to put them in control of this game ever since. Now Zinkernagel on the edge of the penalty area, square towards Carlos Sanchez, left foot shot from him, and he really could hold of that, but it was a couple of yards wide.
Yeah, he did, just didn't get the bend on it, but well found from Zinkernagel. Didn't think he'd seen the pass, but Sanchez seems to just be ambling forward, not like he really wanted to take the seat of it, but once he did, stinging left footed drive, only missed by a couple of yards.
Watford remain a real machine in the Championship the longer the season has gone on. I know a lot of their fans living locally were very concerned about their run-in and the number of top teams they had to play, but the way they're performing is simply taking those teams out of the equation in the final weeks of the season. A success plays it into the area, looking for Gray, but it's gathered by Raphael.
Yeah, I mean, there was a period with Swansea early part of the season, Nigel, where they were getting in front and you were never in any doubt that they were going to get maximum points, but I think Watford are pretty unique in that, throughout the piece. We spoke about that Cathcart goal in the first game of the season. I don't think Middlesbrough really threatened that much that night, and when those two goals went in this evening, you just think that's probably job done. And I think that has just been a feature of their performances this season, and I don't think you can say that about any other club. Even Norwich are probably, a team that can ship goals on their day. Watford just so regimented defensively.
Now Lucas João turns and tries to poke it into the penalty area behind Mate. Rinomota unable to gather it, cleared away by Familia. Now Yeardom just turns into Messina. The ball spins back into the path of Elise, and Elise now just caught by Zinkernagel midway inside the Watford half, and it will be a free kick for Reading. And you've got to say that when it comes to Michael Elise, the Reading players have rotated the foulers, let's say, haven't they?
Oh, they have, yeah, absolutely. I was just thinking that, yeah. They haven't done it enough, though, probably, because he's still been able to produce some brilliant moments this evening. It's been another top performance. He's actually, I was going to say, he got the goal, obviously, against Derby, but he's been better tonight. Definitely been better. He was on the periphery on Monday. It's been a really good performance.
Elise with the free kick, high to the far post, nodded back in field by Richards, and then, or rather Moore, and the shot from Richards is high over the top in the end.
Yeah, it's a chance, isn't it? It's not the hardest volley, tough one to score, but you'd expect him maybe to drill that just goalwards with the technique he's got on his left side, but one off the target.
And we both sat at the Liberty Stadium at the start of February, watched Swansea beat Norwich 2-0 the day after Watford drew 0-0 at Coventry, and then if you'd asked anybody who was going to go up automatically, you would have said Swansea and Brentford, wouldn't you?
Yeah, they were having a wobble, weren't they, Norwich? I think that was 3 or 4 games where they were really toiling in front of goal. We're talking about Pukki rediscovering his best form, and boys, he's done that in the last few weeks and months.
Here's Zinkernagel now coming forward, almost finds Gray, who was possibly clipped by Holmes accidentally on the edge of the penalty area. The ball loops high and wide on the far side, and a corner kick has been given, but no more than that.
No, well, the little coming together wasn't there, just as Zinkernagel tried to release Gray. I don't think there was anything too much there. Ball spinning behind for the corner, and Sarr, I think, cleverly has just refused to go and fetch that ball from behind the goal. Just eating up a few seconds, and this is where they'll start to manage the game as well. Haven't got Ben Foster, who's a great exponent of running clocks down. Let's see if Backman's any good at that. But yeah,
Will be corner for Watford first. 5.5 minutes to play. 2-0 up. And the corner is high, looking for Serialta, who wins the header. It'll fall to Ismaila Sarr, and he almost gets the hat-trick, but the shot was deflected wide.
It took an age to sit down, didn't it, from Serialta's header, but he still was able to get, I was going to say a clean strike. Just just dragged it a little bit, but loads of time. No Reading player was able to get it. Actually, at least made a half challenge, didn't he? Maybe just clipped his heels and spun behind.
Zinchenko will now take an in-swinging corner from this near side. Watford have scored 11 goals from corners so far this season. It's worked short to Hughes. Back towards Zinchenko. Laid out towards the edge of the penalty area. They won't score from this one, or will they? Because Ismail Assar has now robbed Yeardom. And back there to make the challenge is Lucas João. And Reading now will try and break themselves with Lucas João on this near side. But he runs into Carlos Sanchez, who is a big unit, or certainly a solid unit, and he bounces off him. The ball bounces away to safety, and it will be a throw-in to Watford. And since that game we were talking about Swansea against Norwich, Swansea's record is 1-5, drawn 1, lost 6. Swansea's record is 1-10, drawn 2. Watford's record, if they win this, will be 1-11, drawn 1, lost 1. It's all about timing, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, you're right about Swansea, and you're right about Brentford as well. There was a period, I think they put 7 past Wickham on the back of
21 games unbeaten.
Yeah, on the back of, I think the same week they had a brilliant display at Swansea at that stage. It just looked like promotion was going to be an inevitability in West London. They've really dropped off and they're toiling a little bit. Just too many of the attacking players.
They never win the playoffs.
Too many of the attacking players, Nigel, not producing what I suppose they had in abundance last year. Ben Rama, Mbomo's form has dropped off a cliff, you have to say, this season. So when you're so overly reliant on Ivan Toney, you'd rather have it this way, wouldn't you? You'd rather have it like Watford, where there's an even spread, if you like, of goals, where there's loads of people that can hurt you. At the moment, Brentford have just got the one guy.
Double change for Reading. Ajaria and Rinomota have gone off, and Bulldog and Aluko have come on with 3 minutes to play here. Watford still leading by 2-0. As Sanchez looks to make an uncharacteristic burst from midfield on this near side, but the ball just spins away from his grasp, and it will be a throw-in to Reading, who, credit to them, have never given this game up. But they've not really looked like scoring since half-time. Yeardom's feeling that right shoulder once again as Bulldog scampers forward for Reading on this near side, but Serialta comes out of the central area to make the challenge, and it will be a throw-in to the Royals by the corner flag on this near side, and they are running out of time here. Another win and another clean sheet are looming for Watford. Elise back towards Yeardom once again. It deflects into the path of Bulldog, who spins infield, finds Yeardom, who sways away from one challenge. It doesn't fall for the shot. Then more shot is blocked, and it's Aluko with a shot, and it's an excellent save by Bachmann. First touch for Sonny Aluko, caught hold of that left-footed from the edge of the penalty area, and Bachmann saw it coming through the crowd and held off.
Yeah, it's a really brilliant save, because he probably would have moved his position from the initial strike. I think it was more left-footed. That one was charged down, and Aluko took the strike on straight away as well. So instinctive strike from the substitute, and Bachmann, great reaction save down to his right hand side, and to keep hold of it as well. Outstanding stuff.
Magnetic hands there from Daniel Bachmann. His clearance long downfield. Sanchez will just pick the pocket of Mayte, and Watford have it back again with 75 seconds of normal time to play here. Leading by 2-0, and Watford will close within 5 points of Norwich, who could be promoted tomorrow if Swansea drop points at Millwall. Live on TalkSport 2 at 12:30. Brentford also travel to Preston. If they don't win there and Norwich win at Derby, then the Canaries will be back in the Premier League, as Bulldog plays it forward towards Mayte, but it's overhit. Maybe Bulldog not quite attuned to the pace of the game, and it's gathered by Bachmann.
No, just overcooks it a little bit. Good position, good opportunity for Reading. I'd just like to have seen their manager do this a little bit earlier, Nigel. I don't really feel that they've had a real go in the second half. Yes, the endeavour's been there, and of course they've still continued to knock it about, but throw the kitchen sink at them. You're 2-0 behind. You can play with such freedom, get 2 forwards on there, 2 out-and-out strikers. You know, maybe get the wide players further pushed up the pitch and keep them up there. You know, Watford are experts at seeing out games, managing matches, but have Reading done enough in this second half? Has the manager been aggressive enough with his substitutions? That would be my one criticism.
They look more dangerous in the first half.
Yeah. Can't you do these changes at 65 minutes, 70 minutes rather than at 85? And if we lose 4-0, we lose 4-0.
Minimum of 6 added minutes at the end of this game. Watford leading 2-0. Here is Success. Almost arrogantly launches a ball over the top, looking for Firmino on the far side, but Aluko comes back to win the ball back, and it's into the path of Richards. Out on the Reading left, crossed into the area, brought down by Zhao on the chest, but it just evades his grasp, and it's cleared away by Serialta on the far side. Now Aluko once again. Has support from Richards. Aluko drives towards the penalty area. Looks towards Richards again, but instead plays a low ball in, looking for Lucas Zhao, and it's cleared away by Cathcart. But Lawrence quickly wins it back, and now the early cross into the penalty area almost ricochets into the path of Lucas Zhao before Will Hughes keeps it simple. Big up and under, up towards the halfway line. Holmes heads it wide on the far side, out of play, and it will be a throw into Watford.
Yeah, they've had some nervous moments, those balls that have just been played in that space, I suppose, a few yards deeper than the two centre-halves, and Reading players have been able to collect them in a few moments, just were able to fashion a shooting opportunity on that occasion, and the header from Holmes, absolutely ideal for Watford, just going out around the halfway line. Just any pressure that was building alleviates. 2-0 scoreline. It'll take a miracle now.
Well, Xisco Munoz won the Georgian title in charge of Dynamo Tbilisi last season, and he could be adding a championship promotion to his CV this season with Watford. Of course, you're never quite sure if he'll be here at the start of next season. That's the Watford way. He's the 14th manager since the Pozzo family took over back in 2012, and winning promotion is often no guarantee of keeping your job at Vicarage Road, but he inherited a difficult situation as Isaac Success gets a yellow card for kicking the ball away. And I think he's put his imprint on this team. He's got different things out of different players.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And refigrating the midfield, I suppose, definitely is a huge plus. They were toiling, weren't they, for a period, and players seem to be enjoying themselves, and the setup is working. It's very hard to get the better of.
Yedon now finds Baldock inside the area, but before he could even think about the shot, Carlos Sanchez comes back to rob him at the expense of a corner.
Yeah, nice cute pass from Yedon. That's maybe been missing from his final pass tonight, but he picks a lovely little spot there for a couple of Watford players, in for Baldock, and his square ball intercepted.
Elise with the corner, high to the far post. Backman just about manages to pull the ball away under severe pressure, and now Watford can break. Ismail Assar running clear and fast up towards the halfway line. He's picked out Andre Gray. Gray, though, is challenged again on the edge of the penalty area. Ismail Assar will win the ball back for Watford, and eventually he is challenged by Richards, and it will be a throw-in for Watford, or rather a free kick for Watford on this near side, and we're a couple of minutes into added time.
Yeah, wonderful stuff from Sarr. I thought the pass was Andre Gray on his left foot, first time for Zinchenko, who had made the dart towards the right-hand side of the area. He would have been cleaner on goal. Once Andre Gray takes the touch to his left, the chance is gone. Sarr able to buy the free kick over by the far corner flag anyway.
Zinchenko is over the free kick, along with Success. And after their winning streak came to an end at Middlesbrough on Monday, Watford may have started another one here, and if they do, it will carry them all the way to the Premier League. And the way things are shaping up, they may not need too many wins in the final 5 games following this one. Other challenges have fallen away, but Watford seem to be getting stronger and stronger. Lawrence wide towards the far side, and Richards for Reading. Elise, both arms outstretched, looking for the ball on the halfway line, but it's further forward for Aluko. And now wide towards Richards, the cross into the penalty area, glanced on by Mate. Here is Baldock now in space, fidgeted the ball across the penalty area, and at the far post on the stretch, Mate can't direct the ball towards goal.
Yeah, it's a good ball in from Richards. Mate can't score, but he just helps it on, and Baldock knows when the ball's travelling towards him, it's just a quick touch and a finish that's required. Unfortunately for him, I think Messina's position made it difficult to find the target. Mate on the far post, unable to slide it home, and another half chance for Reading goes begging.
The clear-cut chances all came in the first half. Puskás hitting the post and Mate striking the side netting when really he should have scored. Now the frustration which has been mounting for Reading throughout the second half really epitomises Yiadom. Basically picks up Isaac's success and shoves him to the floor. Was both challenged for a high ball. This was always going to be a big weekend for Reading, and it's not got off to the start they were looking for. And they will just hope that Coventry can do them a favour tomorrow. Messina plays it down the line for success, back towards Messina again. Zinkernagel. Hughes finding Messina, and Watford look to finish this game with a spell of possession. And there goes the full-time whistle on Watford's inexorable charge towards the Premier League continues. They maintain this incredible winning streak at home, and their unbeaten record in the Championship shows no sign of ending. And they were simply too good for Reading in a blistering start to this game, and although the Royals had their chances, they were always looking to recover something from a losing position, and at the moment Watford simply don't concede enough. It is finished. Watford 2, Reading 0.